MVP, Cody Bellinger, who, a lot last week, so I won't continue that a few days later. But how about Jock Peterson, Alex Verdugo, David Freese, Max Muncy coming alive lately? Because there were doubts about Max Muncy the year later after he came off that season that came out of nowhere last year. There was doubt about Jock Peterson because he's a home run or a strikeout. His average, how he's gonna be when he's a full-time player. Peterson's home run total of 18 isn't the shocking part, because that guy has a lot of power. But his .272 batting average is eye-opening. On-base percentage is nearly .400. OPS over 1,000. He needed to step up big time because of those losses that I brought up in the outfield, with Puig and Kemp losing depth, and Pollock getting hurt. And he did. And then there's their pitching staff. I mean, just ridiculous. Walker Buehler has been their worst starting pitcher. Think about that for a second. Going into this year, Walker Buehler he was supposed to be their best pitcher. Clayton Kershaw is still going to be good, but, how great? And then you got Kenta Maeda and, Ryu and, obviously Rich Hill, who's, he's up there in age. He's always hurt. It was going to be Walker Buehler's team, right? He's been their worst starting pitcher this year. Kenta Maeda pitched well again on Friday. Won his 7th game of the season. Clayton Kershaw did his Clayton Kershaw thing on Saturday, giving up just 1 run in 7 innings. And then Rich Hill and the Dodger pen finish it off with a combined 3-hit shutout. 3 different starting pitchers gave up just 3 runs in 3 days against a very good, like I mentioned, a very good, potent, star-studded Philadelphia Phillies lineup. The Dodgers pitching staff as a whole has the 3rd lowest ERA in all of baseball, and their offense is towards the top of the league in nearly every category. Other than that, they're not that good. You're thinking to yourself, there's, who can beat them? Who is going to beat these guys in the postseason with the team that they have right now? They're aiming for their 3rd straight World Series appearance, thinking that maybe it would be the Phillies after all those acquisitions that they made. The Brewers and the way they hit the ball. They still need starting pitching. Their starting pitching, I still don't believe in it. Maybe the Cubs. I think the Cubs are a little bit more of a balanced team than the Brewers are. But just tell me a more complete team in the National League than the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'll wait. By the way, Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel can now sign with anyone without their new team needing to forfeit a draft pick. And I know that was something that a lot of teams, they were waiting for in order to start, seriously going in to try to sign these guys. Where do you think these two will land? Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me in the least if at least one of them winds up on the Minnesota Twins. I've brought up the Twins and how ridiculous they've been to start off this season. Their offense looks like, the best in baseball. It has been the best in baseball so far. When I said the Dodgers were up there in every category, Minnesota is at the top in pretty much every category. The Twins are clearly pushing to be a contender in the American League. And the reason I say it like that is because it is a long season and they're not proven commodities. And because I don't believe they have the pitching. I don't. They have a lot of guys who I believe are overachieving right now. Jake Odorizzi and Martin Perez and some of these guys. I don't necessarily believe in them being able to, compete with Houston or a healthy Yankees. With the Red Sox or the Rays or teams like that. I just don't. Their bats are clearly there. They have 1 million bats. Mitch Garver's back now. I don't even want to rattle off the names because they have too many of them. Everywhere you turn, there's a solid bat. I still think a proven all-star added to that staff, whether it's Keuchel or Kimbrel, is needed. Preferably Kimbrel, though, by the way. Now, I think this is a great landing spot for Kimbrel, but to me, there are going to be plenty of teams bidding to try to sign him. There are quite a few contending teams who have struggled closing out games or just don't have a legitimate closer. I continuously bring up the Cubs, who are still waiting for Morrow to come back. I think he would be perfect there. The Atlanta Braves are another team. Obviously, their pitching staff has been awesome, even though it's going to be interesting to see how many innings they push Soroka and Fried and a lot of these young guys, because they're going to be on a pitching, an innings limit. That's tough to do when you're a contender, because you don't want to throw games. You don't want to, when these guys are rolling and you're looking to try to push for the playoffs, how do you balance that out? Do you do a 6-man rotation? I'm trying to think of how you can maneuver that without pushing them too far, but at the same time being able to keep them going so that you can continue winning games. Don't ruin or mix up any of the chemistry that's going on or the momentum that you have. The Braves have the lineup. Their pitching staff's been really good. They need Craig Kimbrel. The Red Sox are another option. I think it makes sense. They don't really have a closer. They have a lot of good setup men. Workman has been great. He's been fantastic out of the pen. Ryan Brazier, Matt Barnes, they have a lot of good setup men. If they can grab Craig Kimbrel, that would be perfect for them. Because to me, I get it. If you have guys who can close, there's a difference between guys who can close and legitimate closers. especially for a contending team. When you get into the postseason, you need a closer. I know the Phillies were on that list, and I wouldn't be surprised if they still do take a run at him. But Hector Neris has shut me the hell up. I always called him a dinger waiting to happen, like a bomb waiting to happen, because he always used to, he gave up bombs constantly. He has been fantastic in the closer's role so far this season. Just saying. Now, from a fantasy perspective, one player you should hang on to in fantasy is Daniel Murphy. And I just some of you may have dropped him already, but hear me out. This is a second baseman. Not an easy position to replace when it comes to offense. They're probably, unless you're in the most shallow of leagues, there probably aren't many second basemen out there. He's proven to be an all-star with power. He's been hurt this year. He's been in and out. He's a little bit up there in age now, but he's not old. But as long as he's getting starts, he plays at Coors Field, he's a lefty with power, or like some power. Murph has always been a good hitter. 2 weeks ago, his average was at 171. Fast forward to now, he's at 250. 5 multi-hit games during that stretch. I still think he has a good half of baseball left. At a hitter's haven, I'm holding on to Daniel Murphy until the Rockies actually start taking more playing time away from him, which is possible with guys like Ryan McMahon, Brendan Rodgers, and guys like that they're crowding the infield. There are a lot of young guys that are looking to play in those spots, second base and first base. So, I can see, sometimes them sitting him when they go against lefties. But as long as he's hitting the way he's started to, I don't see that happening. They signed him for a reason. I believe in the signing. It's still relatively early in the year. The Rockies are now over 500, and I don't believe that's a coincidence. Daniel Murphy hitting, he gives them depth. Like I said, I'm holding on to him because I know he can be droppable in leagues, but he's gotten hot. He's the kind of guy who can, he can help carry your fantasy team in the second half of the year if he gets healthy and gets hot. Staying in the NL West, one guy who really flies under the radar in Arizona is Eduardo Escobar. The guys who seem to get all the attention over there are Ketel Marte and David Peralta, and understandably so, because both of them are fantastic. David Peralta is probably their best hitter, and Ketel Marte is just a fantastic player all around. But what a year Escobar has had. He's hitting .288 with 15 home runs and nearly 50 RBIs already. It's June 3rd. Has an OPS of .913. Marte, Peralta, and Escobar are a very underrated trio in the game right now. But unfortunately, that's the life of the Arizona D-backs. They started off the season much better than I anticipated, coming off the trade of Paul Goldschmidt,